You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
Well, it's been a bit disjointed today because we've had a cast of thousands in and we're waiting for the great Dr. Ben Fordham to ring in from Sydney, Australia. He is the number one broadcaster in the nation. Not all the groups with the funky shoes and the fancy clothes, not play music. He is a broadcaster and speaks about the topics of the day here and overseas. And
he does a breakfast program.
He does
in Sydney.
Did
and
he
when
take
he
over
finishes,
from Alan Jones or not?
Yeah. And yes, and when he's finished his breakfast program, he rings you.
How's Alan going, do you think?
Well, I think Alan's up the river at the moment, isn't he?
Yes.
This isn't new, of course. We've
heard about it before.
Why
haven't we?
has it suddenly come out? Because he has pushed back on some conspiracy theories about COVID and the government, and
Correct.
they think they're going to actually round him up and make him pay for his opinions, I think. Is that what
Payback.
the
I think so,
idea
yeah.
is? Dick?
I think he's gone against the narrative too much. And,
This is Dick from Muff.
That's it. It is.
Here we go.
What does MUF stand for, by the way?
I don't think I've ever been told.
Keep going, keep going.
This will be good. Now, this will be good, Dick. Seeing Sam try and get this up through the console.
No, he's
not there.
calling in 2 minutes.
He is calling in 2 minutes.
Before we go any further, that poisoning of those two beautiful girls.
Terrible.
Or beautiful people. Here he is here, so I'll, here we go. All right, now, come on.
Fingers
Sue.
crossed.
Are we listening? Hello,
Sue?
Doc, can you hear me?
Hello.
Now, Doc, there's a cut. I tell you just before you start, Wayne Carey apologises
yes.
profusely. He apologised profusely. He's got to go and be counselled by Tess.
That's all right.
And he said he will make time next week as he wants to speak to you, and I told him you passed on his regards. We've got Greg Evans sitting here. We got Dick from Muff, and we got Ivan.
Hello, Ben.
I listened to your broadcast about the 9-minute welcome to country. Don't want that to consume the whole thing if you don't want to. Also, the man who got fined for climbing Mount Warning, and anything else that you would like. And Professor Dalgleish has come out and said that the vaccines weren't worthy of being put onto the market, and he's pushed back on all that. We just want you to tell us what you want to speak about.
Good on you, mate. So are we on now, or are you going to start now?
We're on now. No, we're on now.
Live.
We're on.
We're on.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Can you imagine, Greg Evans, back in the day when you were hosting TV shows, if you didn't know when the show was starting?
That's right, Ben. You never know here. You never know what button he's going to push. Yeah. Hey, Ben, congratulations. You've survived. They're all falling down around you up there.
Yep.
Well, yeah, I mean, everyone sees that time of the year, as you know. I think they call it the killing season in media. And I suppose same in politics and also in sport. You get to a certain time of the year and everyone's announcing that changes are being made and they're coming and going. You know, Ray Hadley's announced his retirement from radio. John Laws has retired from radio as well. I'll be having a long lunch with Lawsy in a couple of weeks when I finish for the year, and I went in to farewell Lawsy in his studio during his final week.
I was listening to his final broadcast. I didn't hear the one where you and Kyle Sandilands went in, but he was talking about it on his final show. And I listened to the whole 3 hours on that Friday recently when he finished. What did you do when you went into his studio with Kyle?
Well, Kyle contacted me and said, look, I'm going to go in and farewell Lawsy. And I said, oh, that's a nice thing to do. Good on you for doing it. And he said, maybe we'll call you when I'm in there just for some sport. And I said, well, why don't I come in as well? You know, I mean, we're both the breakfast kind of hosts in our city, and Lawsy's been the radio veteran. Why don't we both go in and pay our respects? And I've known Lawsy for close to 30 years now. He gave me a bottle of wild turkey when I did a job on the radio as an 18-year-old reporter where I broke a big story that the government denied, and then it was proven that I was right and they were wrong. And we had this pigeonhole. I didn't have an office or anything, but I had a pigeonhole at 2UE, and I went to the pigeonhole 48 hours later, and there was a bottle of wild turkey rare breed, which is the fancy bottle of wild turkey, and a note on it saying, "Ben, you did very well yesterday, John Laws."
Oh, wow.
So, Lawsy's always been very good to me, and so Kyle and I went in there, and we just basically made dickheads of ourselves for about 30 minutes. We started slagging each other off, and Lawsy was sitting in the middle wondering what to do, and in the end I said to Kyle, "Well, what are you going to do about it?" He goes, "I'll throw this glass of water on you." And I said, "Well, don't just talk about it, do it." And so he did. He splashed a glass of water in my face. Lawsy was sitting there. I think he was about to have a stroke. We just turned on a bit of drama and a bit of sport for Lawsy's last week. Yeah,
satire.
I'll try and catch that. I think it's interesting that John Laws gave you a bottle of wild turkey. Alan Jones would have given you a bald lolly.
I'm not quite sure about that.
Why have the coppers rounded up Alan Jones now?
Why have the police arrested
this has been
and
going on
Alan
for
Jones?
years, hasn't it?
Okay, so about a year ago, but I might be off by a month or so, about a year ago, Kate McClymont, the senior journalist at the Sydney Morning Herald, put together an investigation that she worked on for years. And it featured a number of people who claimed that they were indecently assaulted by Alan Jones. That's why, all of a sudden, this has become an issue. After the story aired, one journalist or commentator on Sky News came out and said, "Oh, yeah, but none of these people are actually putting their name to the complaints. They're all anonymous and, it's not like they're actually going to do a police report." Well, one of the alleged victims then decided he was going to do a police report, and others decided they were going to as well. And so in the end, multiple people have made allegations about Alan Jones. Alan Jones denies the allegations, and he'll have his first mention in court in the next month or so. But look, on issues like this, I just always take the view that the legal system is there for a reason. I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. I've known Alan Jones for a long time, but I'm not going to pretend that I've been in his company at all times, that I know what stories may or may not come out in court. And I think on an issue that's serious like this, because when people are making allegations like this, it's obviously gravely serious for the accused, and they've got a right to a presumption of innocence until proven otherwise. That's why you've just got to be very careful around commentary on the whole thing, because
now, Ben,
the last thing you want to do, and this has happened before, where journalists have gone into a courtroom before, and thankfully this one hasn't happened to me, but they've gone in for a resumption of a court hearing, and the judge or the magistrate says, "Now, one of you has said something that has now jeopardised this case, and now we've got to rerun the case and find another jury or start all over again." So, I think you can understand that I'm pretty freewheeling with my commentary on most issues, but when you've got a matter before the courts, I've seen other people burn before, which is why I just want to sit back, wait, watch, and see what happens in court.
All right. Now, Ben, Ray Hadley, the guy that you hand over to next on the program, has he had a falling out with Alan Jones about 5 years ago because of this very reason?
Yes.
So that would, to me, that would say there's something in it.
No. Well, what that is, and I'll just repeat what Ray has said on air. Ray has revealed on air that one of the alleged victims confided in Ray his allegation some years ago. So Ray has explained on air that his relationship with Alan Jones was severed from that day onwards.
Yep,
because Ray obviously was privy to this information that he thought was very serious, and obviously it is based on what we've read so far. So I don't think Ray and Alan always saw eye to eye on a whole range of issues. And, radio hosts are tricky personalities because there's competition and there's ego and there's everything else. And I'm not a stranger to that either. I have those things as well. But look, Ray's on the record as saying that when one of the alleged victims came to Ray many years ago and shared his story with Ray, that led to a very significant splinter in his friendship with Alan Jones.
Now, Doc, I listened to your very succinct rundown of the 9-minute Welcome to Country, and in the name of divisiveness, dividing this country, where is all this headed? Because it's getting out of hand, mate.
Well, if you need 9 minutes to welcome someone, there's something seriously wrong. And what happened was...
Why do people put up with it? Why didn't someone stand up and say, this is enough?
Well, I'll tell you what's happening, Sam, right? The pushback is well and truly on. You've been a key figure in it. But the welcome to country thing is just running out of steam, right? And eventually these things just run their course, and people, when they're organising an event and they go, we're going to do a welcome, they look at each other and go, nah. Because...
Where was this welcome?
It was actually the 90th anniversary of an Anzac War Memorial in Sydney, right? So think about that as well. We're there to recognise those black, white, and any other colour who have fought and died for their country, right? And the Anzac War Memorial in Hyde Park recognises specifically Indigenous soldiers who fought for their country. So they decide we're going to do a welcome. Okay, it's an official event, and they probably feel like they have to or they want to. They'd scheduled it for 5 minutes, but that's probably on the more generous end. But the lady who got up and spoke, I mean, she started talking about the stolen generation. She started talking about the local Aboriginal Land Council. She started talking about her own family. She spoke about the nicknames that her family has for her. Mm-hmm. And I just couldn't help but think when I saw it, I thought, this is just self-indulgent. It's too long. It's ridiculous. It's rubbish. And so what I did is I played on our radio show yesterday a sample from each minute. So this is in the first minute, second minute, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth. And I noticed last night watching Sky News with Andrew Bolt that Andrew's followed it and several other newspapers as well, because, you know, if people already feel uneasy about being welcomed to their own country, then a 9-minute welcome that just goes on and on and on is only going to drive people further away.
I listened to you do it. It was fantastic. As I say, you broke it down. But her first opening words were, she stood up and she said, this is my country and welcome to it. At that stage, someone should have stood up and said, this is our country, madam, please.
Exactly.
Why not nip it in the bud? It's just... I noticed the lady, I noticed the woman at the COP, the climate, Claire Anderson, did a welcome to country there over in...
Azerbaijan.
Which has nothing...
In Azerbaijan, yeah.
How can you do a welcome to country in a foreign country? That doesn't make sense at all. This is not the first time it's happened, Ben. You know,
Chris Bowen did it last year at COP28.
Exactly, right? Yeah.
In Dubai.
How can you welcome people to country in another country?
Yeah, but Dick, I think you'd know by now that the stuff that happens at these climate change conferences, COP29...
Yeah, it's political grandstanding. It's political.
It's so far removed from reality, it's just crazy. I mean, I shared another example this morning about something that's been going on there in COP29, and I'll dig it up in a moment and read some of it to you, because it's just crazy stuff. I mean, it's so out of touch with the average Aussie... that I think, again, it's another thing where people go, well, this does not define us. This is not us. You know, I think there was an Australian representative at COP29 who was talking about the link between climate change and domestic violence.
I know. It's just so much crap.
Right?
Yep.
I mean when we looked into it, we went, oh, hang on a moment. Climate change has also been blamed for obesity in children. It's been blamed for strengthening the Taliban. Yep. It's been blamed for hate speech. Now it's being blamed for domestic violence. I mean, what the planet has got to do with what people do in their own homes. And obviously, if they're belting people up, then they're scumbags. I mean, it's just a very, very strange set of circumstances. But I would suggest that things like the welcome, you may not believe me, but I'm telling you, they'll just run out of puff, because there are sensible people who mean well, They know they're not evil people. They know they're not racist. They know they don't need to prove anything. So you just say to the other organisers when you're putting the thing together, no, I think we'll leave that.
There's been a big shift in the Overton window, I think, since the election of Trump, where politics has moved right, and there's a real movement now globally against this woke nonsense worldwide.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, woke is slowly being drained of oxygen and energy in the United States. That's because there's a new sheriff in town, and that's why there are lessons to be learned there for Peter Dutton. Dutton's now got to say, all right, well, what can I learn from Trump?
He can learn a lot.
I'm not suggesting he's going to copy everything that Donald Trump has done, but you have a look at what Trump has done with illegal migration. Now, we don't have the same issue of illegal migration like we used to.
Yep.
But we've got an issue with legal migration because the numbers are just so big. I mean, at the moment, in New South Wales today, for 3 days in a row, we're being told that the lights might turn off at any moment because there are too many people here wanting to use power and we don't have enough power. So Dutton said if he wins the election, he'll slash migration, but he could probably go even further on the numbers that he wants to. Once upon a time, we welcomed in a reasonable number of people every year. They were happy, we were happy, everyone was happy. Now the system's way out of whack. So, yeah, that's the favour that Donald Trump has done Peter Dutton is providing a blueprint on how you can win.
Absolutely.
And one of those ways of winning is saying Australians think that this woke stuff is bullshit. We've had enough of it. We want to have normal conversations with each other. You know, if I'm sitting in the back of a taxi and if I'm having to think twice about asking the driver where he's from originally, then we've got a problem because I've done that my whole life. It's part of my kind of conversation I'll have with people when I'm getting to know them. If I kind of think, now, where are you from or where's your family from originally? Because there's a chance that I might have been there or I might know a little bit of the language. And if you find yourself thinking, oh, am I going to be labelled racist because I've asked someone where their family's from, then we're seriously cooked.
Absolutely.
But there's big money to be made in immigration too, isn't there, Ben? Like straight from India.
Big time. I mean, we just did a story today about these sham colleges that have just been shut down, and credit goes to the Albanese government for shutting them down. But about 150 sham colleges have just been shut down in Australia, and what they were doing is they were pretending that they were teaching international students when in fact people were just coming here because they wanted to come to Australia and they wanted a job. So instead they're working in a convenience store or they're driving an Uber or they're working at a cafe. And the sham college, it's basically a visa scam, right? And they pretend that these students are going along and learning something when really the only thing they're learning is how to make a macchiato or how to sell a couple of chocolate bars over a counter. I mean, there are so many scams that have taken place in this space.
Foreign students.
And what they are is essentially it's a criminal enterprise because there's these visa scam agents in the middle. And they sell a spot to come into Australia. They con Australia about the reasons for the person coming here. There's a lot of money to be made. So when we find a criminal syndicate that's operating in any other field that's illegal and based on a lie, we shut it down.
Yep. So I don't know, did you, I suppose you've caught up with the Bianca and Holly, the two beautiful people over in Laos. Talk about criminal elements. I don't know if it reached the gravity in New South Wales as it did down here, but it is just to see the family. So we don't often do this, but if we could recommend anyone who's going to donate to the GoFundMe, Holly, I don't even know what it's called, but you could easily find it. Bianca and Holly's GoFundMe thing to help the family, and we would advise that. That is just, I don't often get moved. The last time I got moved was a story that you told about the bullying of that young child that committed suicide.
Yeah, little Charlotte.
But this was not far behind it to see that those beautiful girls, or beautiful women, beautiful people, that is just extraordinary. That you can't quantify that.
And
Snuffed out.
I mean, I think there's several elements to it, Sam, that make it even more heartbreaking. One is happening overseas. I mean, being out of your comfort zone and the parents being so far away. Two is the nature of the death. I mean, you imagine when you've consumed something you're not supposed to consume and you don't know it, So it's not like oh, hang on a moment, I've eaten something that's dangerous and I realise that I better rush off to a hospital. No, it's just slowly killing your insides. And these poor girls in their dorm room there at the hostel, and it was supposed to be checkout day and they didn't check out, and then someone's gone in to check on them, and the next thing they're dying in hospital. It's just so sad, and we pass on our love to the families of Bianca and Holly. And I've just looked it up, Sam, while talking to you. If anyone wants to donate, if you just Google Bianca Holly GoFundMe, you'll find the page and it'll step up there straight away. And I suppose there's a bit of a lesson here for everyone, just a bit of a reminder. I mean, I can remember going to certain places in Southeast Asia and people saying, hey, just be careful, don't drink a drink unless it's got a lid on it and whatever. But, Sam, when you're in the middle of a dance floor somewhere and you're having a lot of fun, I mean, someone could pass me a bucket and I'd drink it.
Yeah, well, you just go to the bar and order a drink and they pour it out of a bottle, which has got all this crap in it.
And that's the thing. It's not like they were hanging around and going, all right, we want to try and buy some ice, we want to buy some heroin.
Mm-hmm.
They were buying a cocktail. And by the way, that GoFundMe page is getting up close to $350,000.
Right.
Good.
So, it gives you a sense of the generosity out there when people are going through hell.
Well, Doc, it's it is extraordinary, and I noticed I know you had a man on who was fined for climbing up a Mount Warning, and he now has had the fine rescinded, but he has to be on a good behaviour bond for climbing up a rock.
Oh, mate, don't start me on that.
You can't climb that now, is it? I didn't hear about that.
You can't.
Yeah, Mount Warning. And you know what? It used to attract about 200,000 visitors a year in New South Wales, and then someone in National Parks handed it over to a local Indigenous group. They decided that no woman would be allowed to climb the mountain. And then when someone pointed out to them, you can't do that, you can't say that men can climb the mountain and not women, they then said, all right, well, no one can climb it then. So it's now been shut for years. The local economy misses out on all of the climbers and the bushwalkers and everyone else who goes there.
Crazy.
And I love this comment from one Indigenous person in the area. He said, yeah, it is sacred, this place, which is why we want everyone in the world to come and visit it.
Mate,
honestly, they've got this beautiful piece of Australia, and someone somewhere thinks, all right, we want to block it off. And even though you've got other Indigenous people in the area saying this is a crock of you-know-what, white, woke politicians go, oh, we better be careful. We better say to people you're not allowed to go there.
They're cowards.
We've now got mountains that are blocked off. We've got walking trails that are blocked off.
Yeah,
we've got beaches that are blocked off in some parts of Australia.
So why do we put up with it, Doc? Why do we put up with it? Because
Sam,
you get cancelled and you get told you're a racist, and it is infuriating because all of it's a hoax.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? I actually said on air, and I was warned about this when I said it, but I said on air, and I'm not repeating it now because it's been pointed out to me that you cannot and you should not ever encourage people to break the law, right? So, but I'll just repeat what I said on radio some time ago. I said, look, if I lived near that mountain, I'd just go and climb it, right?
Yep.
And I said, the first person who cops a fine for climbing it, I'll pay the fine.
Yep.
So the gentleman, Mark Hendricks, I paid his fine, right? I never said it. I never said it on air.
Nice.
But I'll reveal it to you now. I paid his fine because I was keeping my word. I'd said on air, the first person who's fined, I'll pay it. So the reason we revealed that fine's been withdrawn is because Mark Hendricks was in court 2 days ago. He won. It was withdrawn. So he contacted me to say, hey, mate, I want to give that money back because I no longer have to pay the fine.
Fantastic.
So I just said, oh, mate, we want you on radio to reveal the fact that this fine has now been withdrawn. I mean, again,
how much was it?
I don't know, a couple of $100 or something like that. But this is how crazy it is, Sam. Do you know what they did? To keep people away from climbing the mountain, they hired security guards.
Mate.
They got security guards. Have you ever heard of bouncers standing outside a bushwalking trail. I mean, seriously, people need to get a life.
What the world's come to.
Now, listen, can I just give you a bit of feedback on last week?
Yep.
That conversation with Wayne Carey was fascinating. I mean, I just love hearing people who speak their truth, and you know, he's a different character to you, Sam, and I think that's why it works. But, you know, it was just really interesting hearing from a bloke being really brutally honest about what he's been through. Some things written about him and said about him have been true. Others have been complete tripe.
Yep.
But it was really interesting, and he's a fascinating person. And I'll give you this little bit of feedback on Wayne Carey. I don't know him, right? I don't know Wayne, but I went to the Billy Joel concert in Melbourne last year. And while I was there, he was sitting about 10 metres from me. And he turned around at one point and we caught each other's eye, and he kind of looked at me to say, hang on, I know you. So I went over and said g'day, and we had a chat. But I watched him during that night, and I watched the way he responded to people who came up and asked for a selfie or anything else. And he was a gentleman the whole night. And I kind of kept an eye on him because I was like, oh, the poor bloke. I mean, he's there trying to enjoy this great song from Billy Joel, and there's someone coming up and tapping him on the back because they want a selfie. He never said no to anyone. He was a gentleman and open with anyone who wanted his time. And what do they say? You can judge people by how they behave when they think no one's watching. And he had no reason to know that I was paying a bit of attention to him and watching the way he responded to people. You know, I think he's a really interesting bloke, and I'm looking forward to hearing more from him.
Well, I passed on your comments, and he was very, very chuffed at that, Doc. Now, I don't want you to go, but just before you go, if you're thinking of going, you said that you're finishing up for the year, what, in a fortnight, are you? Or when?
Yeah, I've got a couple of weeks to go.
Don't tell me you're finishing up with us in a fortnight, are you? We can't survive. This won't survive. You've got to ring us from wherever you are in the Bahamas, on the Baltic.
I'm sure I'll be able to do that, Sam. I'm sure I'll be able to do it. And I'd love to. Yeah, no. You let me know if, but I'll be back on in a couple of weeks. I'm on every fortnight, so I'll do that in a couple of weeks.
Wayne's going to be here in a couple of weeks. He has a standing appointment with Tess, his counsellor, and he said he's putting that back because he's going to be here at 10:30 in a fortnight.
Have you got a number for Tess?
Is her name Tess or Jess?
What's an appointment?
Is it Tess?
Tess.
Yeah, I may need an appointment. Does she travel to Sydney?
Well, I think he does it down the line. I think she lives in Queensland, doesn't she?
Yeah, because if she can do what she's done for him, then I'd be very interested in talking to her, because it sounds like he's a bit reborn. That's the sense that I got.
He's a god botherer.
Well, you know, like he just... You know, he's thought to himself, hang on, I can do better. I can be a better person.
Australia's answer to Jimmy Swaggart.
Yeah, and he was kind of thinking, I don't need to be so reactionary, and other people have got other ideas. I mean, dare I say it, Sam, there might be something for all of us to learn from that.
Jimmy Swaggart's Jimmy Swaggart's motto is, do preachers do more than lay people? I'll leave that with you.
Leave that with me. Yeah. Hallelujah.
Now, Doc, don't even think about not coming on every fortnight, Doc, because this is the end of the podcast if you don't, because people hang.
I'll be back in 2 weeks.
You're a star, Doc, but you know
Good on you, boys.
Good
Great to hear from you, Greg and Dick and Ivan, and we'll talk soon.
Good talking. Great to talk to you, Ben. Thank you.
Okay, see you, lad.
Bye.
Bye.
Now, we're not finishing here because we got... he's gone.
Further business.
He's the best, isn't he?
He is the best.
Just
the master.
He's so succinct. He's just taken over that mantle. He's taken over that role, and it's just beautiful to see such a nice fella hit the top of the tree.
And I'm just turning the Bluetooth off right now. So, Dick,
all right.
Give us the paid political advertisement for the Muff 24.
Wow,
that's got to be coming up, hasn't it?
Thank you for letting me talk about this.
Well, hurry up. Get on with it.
It's the Melbourne Underground Film Festival.
We won't get the shit kicked out of us for advertising. It's not just a sort of right-wing Nazi convention, is it?
No, it isn't,
said
mate.
that people think I'm a Nazi.
Well, some
Do
people
they?
do. Yeah, of course, some people. I mean, anybody who supports Trump or likes.
Call me a Nazi then.
Yeah, but some people get labelled. We all get tired with that.
So what can
occasionally,
we
mate.
expect at it? Is it selling out and you've got a venue, the people who make the coasters?
Yeah, we've got a venue. We've got the Black Sheep in Hawthorne, and we've got lovely people making coasters for us. And the festival starts on Sunday the 8th of December with a film called The Kiss of Death and an Aussie film called Vincent starring Alan King. He's a great local Australian actor. On closing night, we're playing the film What is a Woman, which is about the whole transgender thing. Whether men should be allowed to be in women's sport, which of course they shouldn't.
How can that be controversial?
And I've put something in my director's statement here, which is a little bit inspired by you, Sam. If I can read it here, it says, "We don't do Welcome to Country at MUF, as we reject the Marxist drivel and the." Oh God, I can't even read.
You've got glasses on, you still
the
can't read it.
simpering
What the
dribblers,
hell's wrong with
it
it? Give it to me.
Simpering dribbler.
I got to clean my glasses, mate.
Where
so
is it?
I can't even remember my own words.
Who adhere to this
Last paragraph.
There you
divisive
go.
nonsense?
Yeah, this is it. We are one people and one country at MUF. So come and join us for blah, blah, blah. But that's inspired by you, pretty much. And I even used some of your syntax there with simpering dribblers. I thought it was
Simpering drivel.
Yeah, that's right. Drivel and dribblers.
Drivel or
Now,
dribble?
is here in Victoria, is there some sort of legislation or something that says if you're going to have a ceremony, you should have a welcome to country?
Well,
is there something
now-
like
Every
that?
film festival.
Now,
in
Ivan,
this,
Ivan, I've heard that. I've heard that. I don't know whether it's
not
true.
law.
But not law. It's
not
not
law.
law. It's okay. Okay.
and we certainly not going to adhere to that nonsense because it's stupid.
You're saying it. I'm saying it's not a law. Because
Well,
someone
no, it's
refused
just
to
someone
do it.
who put on a function was told he had to do it.
Really?
In inverted commas, had to do it, and I was
That
wondering
would be
whether
by the people that hired the hall out, but it's not a
wonder
law.
if it's not a law. So the AFL can say no.
Yeah,
They could.
When
Unlikely.
you reckon that'll be the day? yeah. I tell you, gee whiz. It is not a law.
How many people do you expect to get at the film festival?
Oh,
by the way?
we get about 100 people on opening, closing night,
Okay.
and then for other screenings you get 20 or 30 people who come along. It's not a huge event. I do it every year to support independent cinema. I've been doing it 24 years. This year's a big tribute to Frank Housen, who was a guest on this show at one stage and he passed away. And obviously thank you to Sam for letting us talk about it and
Yes.
promote this indie event.
Now, Ian Cook is still bubbling along. Ian Cook, he's going to see this through to the end. The Dandenong Council have withdrawn the 98 charges because they didn't want to have to go to court and perjure themselves. So he's now suing them and the government for malicious, whatever it's called, malicious. Good. And he is now asked, we're breaking this news, he is now asked for the case to be judged by a jury, not a judge. He doesn't want the judge, he doesn't trust the people they would put in charge, the single person. So he wants a jury of his peers to judge whether he has been roundly condemned and run out of business, which he has. They lied, they fabricated it. The Andrews government and Brett Sutton fabricated the evidence along with the Dandenong Council. And if ever we, the taxpayer, had to stump up some money for a man who's been put out of business, I would gladly use my taxpayer dollars to compensate him and the 34 people that lost their job, a lot of them special interest people who were disabled, who worked in and he has been dealt one of the worst corrupt and dishonest blows that a government can deliver. This is from the Andrews government. Would just need to say any more.
You would not, and it's very good that he's followed it through to the nth degree.
This is the Sluggate controversy.
This is the Sluggate, where they lied and fabricated evidence to put in their own food dispensing service called Community Chef, as opposed to I Cook Foods, which they did, and they went out of business in 6 months because they were incompetent.
A $60 million business that goes out of business just like that.
Now, I don't know if you got any shout-outs, but I'm doing these because I have been up to Brisbane, and people, you wouldn't believe the number of people that stop and say they listen to this. They listen to you, Dick, and they can't wait for you to come on, Greg.
Greg, of course,
Ivan,
Greg.
they just say, where's fucking Ivan? And no, that's good. So a man
He's
on
off hunting people.
I got up to Brisbane, and the bloke said, his mother, called Elaine Ario, Ario. Elaine Ario listens to this. And I was coming back on the plane, and I walked past business class because I'm down at coach down the back, and a bloke called Glenn Austin said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going down the back of the plane." He said, "You can take my business class seat if you like." I said, "You'd be joking, mate. Do you think I'm going to get your ass out of there?" He said, but he offered me his business class seat, so I'm saying thank you very much. I didn't take it, of course. I met, I can't think of his first name, Mr. Montgomery. He sat next to me on the plane. He is the Family First member. He's trying to get into the seat of Goldstein, unseat the Teals. He's the Family First member. I asked him what his Christian name was, and he told me, and I still can't remember. His name's Montgomery. Cliff Montgomery.
Montgomery Cliff.
General MacArthur. No.
Yep.
What? No, that voice that you didn't hear, but we heard, is the great Peter Bedford sitting over there listening to this. He's over there with Gigi, who we haven't spoken to, but we're going to next week. Yeah. And John Alocco, nice to see you, Peter. So I'm still doing the shout-outs. Michael Christian, menswear.com, who's can't keep up with the hats. The kids who are under 12 over in Laos, maybe, or
that's it,
in Indonesia, making the hats at $1 a week they get to make the hats, and the Nike ones.
When they're not mixing methanol.
He said someone called DAE from Jakarta. DAE, that's his initials. I don't know what that means. If you're DAE, you'll know what you are. And he's got a cap. You cannot be serious cap. I'm still going on. Alex Thies. T-H.
Thies.
Therios, is it? Alex Therios. He said he watches The Smart as Sam trip up to, but he said he loves the podcast as well. So, Alex. And they're my shout-outs for the... anyone else got any shout-outs? No? So anything else want to say? Anything else about anything? I had a couple of other things. Jaguar rebranded their car. I have an E-Type Jaguar out there, which Enzo Ferrari said was the most beautiful car in the world when it was built in 1964. And Jaguar...
Did you see Jaguar, the new Jaguar campaign?
Jaguar have decided not to advertise electric vehicles and not even show a picture of a car. This new woke bullshit.
Yeah.
Let's hope they go out of business summarily.
It's like the new Bud Light.
Yes,
everyone turned against Bud Light.
Stupid girl.
Idiot.
So I don't have any... You got anything else
Well, there's
to
World
say?
War III going on, but I guess maybe we can wait, see if we get blown up by Russia next week. They're launching intercontinental ballistic missiles from Ukraine inside Russia at the moment. So
this is going to end well, no doubt. No. Now, just diverging from World War III, something very important. Woolworths here have decided to do away with gingerbread men. And
really?
They're going to do gingerbread people.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Of course.
And gingerbread people is still too woke, so they have
about
to...
gingerbread they?
No, they spell the ginger not with a G-I-N-G-E-R. It's a G-I-N-G-R.
Gingerbread them.
So they don't offend the gingers.
If they've stopped making gingerbread men, you'll just get that much less gingerbread in your biscuit.
I was in Darwin and I said, I want to buy a bag of snowballs. And they said, not allowed to call them snowballs up here. They're snowdrops.
Snowdrops.
Not allowed to use the term balls.
And coon cheese is gone?
No. Just on snowballs. What do they think's offensive? Calling
Balls.
something.
Balls.
So that's gender related, is it?
Yes.
Well, I guess it could be.
What about a ball bearing or
A cricket ball.
Yeah, that is. I don't believe that. Snowballs. They stopped that because it was balls.
Yes.
Snowdrops.
Snowdrops.
Snow testicles. Snow agates. Snow plums.
That'll do. A snow plum. It could be peculiar to the Northern Territory. I'm not sure.
Could be.
Could be.
What does that mean? Could be. What does that mean? Peculiar to the Northern
Well,
Territory?
I don't think it applies here. I think you can still buy snowballs in Melbourne.
Yeah. Although anyone that listens to this, they'll change that.
Yeah.
Won't they?
Well, what if you go up to the snow and you have a snowman and he has snowballs?
There's a snowball fight.
Yeah.
Ellen DeGeneres. Do you know who she is?
Degenerate.
Ellen DeGeneres. She was
DeGeneres, yes. Of course she was.
She's taken her wife.
Yes.
Her wife is.
Where's she
a
gone?
girl who
Portia.
came from-
Where's she gone,
Portia
mate?
de Rossi came from.
She was an Aussie.
She just came from
still
Geelong.
is.
Used to come to my Hellfire Club.
Portia de Rossi and the wife and wife team have gone to live in the Cotswolds because she said it was because Trump got elected. It wasn't that at all. She got run out of town because she was abused all her staff on the program and no one wanted her. So she used that as an excuse, along with that stupid little dribbler. A girl called Abby Chatfield apparently is an enabler. Yeah, I saw her up on a screen.
She's rumoured to.
Stupid little girl said that she wept when Trump was elected because that was the end of women's rights or something. Trump, who has appointed more women in his
Cabinet.
new cabinet, because fancy that person being an enabler. Who would be enabled by her?
Do you think Abby would have wept when she was told, sorry, Abby, you can't, as a female, you can't climb the thing in New South Wales,
exactly.
the rock?
Maybe we can send her up the
Abby
top.
is a low IQ dribbler, and I don't know why anyone would. Why
I love
would
that.
she be up on a billboard?
I love that expression.
It's holy they said
Alan was meant to leave because of Diddy as well. She had some connection to Diddy. You know, she was went to 100 Diddy parties. It's a bit like going to.
What's a Diddy party?
A Diddy party.
Diddy
Yeah,
Combs,
he was a sort of rapist and he's a rapper.
rapper.
It's all alleged.
Take a
at the
P
moment.
out of rapper, and he's a raper. And
thank you.
There you go.
And I see.
Allegedly.
I see
Allegedly.
the picture of Paul Keating's daughter when she was 14 leaving Diddy's apartment. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
She was friends with Epstein as well, apparently. It's very
Well,
nefarious.
Well,
web.
that's about it. I don't know if there's anything else to do. We've. I'm sorry it was so disjointed today, but it was. But that's it. So,
See you when you got nothing on.
we've covered everything. All right. Well, good on you, everyone.
Snowballs it
Thanks
is.
a lot.
Snowdrops.
Snowdrops.
We will reconvene. We'll just work out what we're going to do in the weeks to come. We can't have 14 people in here.
At one time.
Great Peter Bedford won a Brownlow medal. How many did you win? 2?
Oh, just the one, Sam.
One. What year?
A long time ago.
Oh, well, I was playing.
70.
I played against you. I played against him.
We were played up in Sydney.
You can't hear what he's saying. We played together in state games.
Is he coming
Up in
on
Sydney.
here? Is he
No,
coming on?
he's not. He just came in with
Johnny Loco.
yeah. So, all right. Well, that's it. Thank you all.